Hi, this is Shannon Elliott with Teach Asana, and today we're going to talk about Chaturanga and the common misalignments that we see. And usually the first thing that we often need to address with students is that Chaturanga is actually a pose, right? It is not just a transitional movement. And we want to make them care about it because the reality is in a vinyasa or a flow class, right, we're doing it over and over and over again. And so if our students don't care enough to actually align themselves well, right, over years or some amount of time of this repetitive misalignment, things start to hurt. Right? And all of a sudden a shoulder or a rotator cuff or their elbow or their wrist or something just doesn't feel right. And eventually, for many people, they stop doing yoga because they don't realize that it's coming from a misalignment. They think, it's hurting them and they walk away. So we want to, most importantly, teach them to care about it and then how to do it in a way that will keep them practicing for their lifetime. Okay, so two of the most common things that we see in Chaturanga, right? They come from plank, and then as they lower, right, there's this dump of the shoulders. The shoulders drop down, okay, and then this is their pose. Okay? The other thing that we often see is, again, because it's a transition for many people, right, and this tends to be with a lot of newer students, right, that their low back takes it first. So as they start to bend their elbows, at some point they just sort of flop down to the floor. So we're going to address the shoulders first. Okay, and with the shoulders, I have found that most often as we start to teach our students to take their elbows back, right, there's this idea that we should be taking our elbows to touch our ribs. And the moment that we take the elbows in faster than the shoulders, right, the shoulders drop forward. And so really what we want to start to teach is that as the shoulders draw back and the upper back is engaged, you take the elbows straight back. And keeping the elbows straight back, but a little bit away from the ribs. Right? So it's a touchy thing because you don't want them to have their elbows out. Right? But if they can take it straight back and even start to teach them, right, to use the upper tricep muscle, right, to squeeze into the side, but not the elbow. Right? Elbow comes in, shoulder drops. So we start to learn how to use upper tricep, squeeze in, and take it straight back, right? Not out, not in, straight back. So as we do this, and it's also a good way maybe to get them to get that feeling if you take their forehead down, right? Place their hands and teach them how to lift their shoulders up without squeezing in. So they start to feel what it's like to use the upper tricep, squeeze in, and just what that feeling is like. Okay? And then as they come through, right, for many students, when they come through and start to learn this, right, at some point, so we could say right here might be their edge. Okay? And if they come any lower, it drops. So initially, to start to build strength, right, for someone that can hold their knees off the floor, you start to bend the elbows back, squeeze the upper triceps. They learn this is their edge, okay, and then they can come forward and up from there. You don't have to lower all the way down. And then with your hips, right, and the legs, so that there isn't this sinking in the low back. Right? Once we have here, so we'll do this from plank and root the thighs up and take the tailbone back towards the heels, engage the belly. And then it's a straight line, right? So they keep lifted in a straight line. And if, again, it's not possible for them, right, have them practice with their knees down. Okay, so knees down, feet up, right? Engage the belly. Start to bend the elbows back. Again, maybe it's just a little, right? So it's chest forward, elbows back. Right? To their degree, they start to build the strength this way. Hold the pose. And then a great way to teach people the feeling of Chaturanga, and it's actually surprisingly, quite a bit of work, right? Is that you set up blocks, and it may depend. I think most people are going to be on the upper level, but you'll have to look if you have a really tiny person, right, or a shorter person, they may need the blocks on a lower level. So from here, right, you come into down dog, and then the blocks right on the thighs. Okay, so this helps to root the thigh bones into the hip sockets. Okay, and then from there, you take the elbows, right, or shoulders, excuse me, to your blocks. Okay, and you'll see even here, right, you can start to see, okay, this is the feeling, and most people find, oh, it's not nearly as low as I thought it was, right? To get the straight line, people think their shoulders, right, need to come almost to the ground. But the straight line, you can see it's quite lifted here. And then you have them do all the work, right? The tucking of the toes, right? The thigh bones up, the tailbone lengthens, and then even you'll see the tendency on the blocks as well, right? They hug their elbows in, and it is possible with the blocks, right? Elbows in and the shoulders still drop. So you want to teach them a little bit of space from the ribs, elbows straight back of the shoulders, and you feel the upper back engaged. And again, it's quite a bit of work to hold here, but it gives them that feeling of what it's like for Chaturanga and really what full pose is, and that it is a pose. So thank you so much for visiting us today. Leave any comments, any questions below. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you and enjoy. Namaste.